Hey everybody, I'm sitting here with CRX Forum, if you guys remember from the old website days.
Hello.
This is Mike. Mike actually helped us design the first website that we had, which was great. But I wanted to talk to you because for the last 10 years, has it been 10 years, you've owned a video game store?
Yeah, we opened it in September of 2013.
2013. Man, yeah, so it has been 10 years. So, Mike, why don't you tell us how you got started? That's one thing that, a lot of people probably want to know is how do you pull that off? How do you start a game store?
Essentially, it's a super long story short. I had a bunch of really crappy jobs I didn't like, and I've been collecting games since I don't know, probably since 1999. So I probably had 14 years of collecting, and I had hundreds of games for every system. It got to the point where I had I don't know, like 45 Super Nintendos. Like it was like hoarders. It was out of control. And I hated all my jobs, and then I got a job that I really didn't like, and then I decided to start doing my own stuff and buying and selling antiques and collectibles and games and whatever. And eventually, what happened was I just I talked to my dad and I said I got to open up a store or something. I just whatever, and he's like, "Well, why don't we start looking?" So I posted up an ad on it's like Craigslist, but it's called Kijiji, which was popular up here in Canada, but it's not too much anymore. And I just had it on there, and it was I said looking for a store to rent, and some lady messaged me, and it was $1,300 a month. And I said, if I pay you a year in advance, will you leave me alone? And she said yes. And I had a game store within 24 hours. It took me 2 months of renovating the unit and fixing the floors and the walls and electricity and all that stuff. And I had a game store just from my collection. I kept what was important to me. I originally kept Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, and GameCube, but PS1, PS2, PS3, Wii, Virtual Boy, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, TurboGrafx, 32X, and Philips CDI, and Xbox and Xbox 360, and everything else that wasn't those all went. And then eventually my GameCube collection went, and my N64 collection went. I still have my Super Nintendo collection and my NES collection,
Man,
which I have added to in forever.
I don't know how you sold the GameCube collection, man. I love that system. And most of those games they haven't re-released. Like I can't go
Well,
play F-Zero.
at the time, GameCube wasn't really expensive. The most expensive game was like $40, so nobody cared. Pokemon box, I think, was maybe like $100 at the time. So, and that's the most expensive GameCube game. So it wasn't that difficult for me to sell that. Same with N64. At the time, I was like, well, I could buy the whole collection for $3,000. Well, now in the last 2 years, or however it's been, last 2.5 years, um, Sculptor's Cut is a grand, pretty much, right? Just by itself.
Right.
But at the time I brought it all in, it was maybe $150 game, something like that. So it didn't really matter to me at the time. But I've kept my NES, my Super Nintendo collection. My Super Nintendo collection is actually in storage right now
Yeah.
because I needed space for other stuff. So, but I kept my NES collection on display.
Well, Mike, I know you'd show us your stuff, but I know you hurt your back. So let's. If you want to show us, if you lift up your camera really quick, you can see the ridiculous NES collection behind him. So
Yeah, so that's
yeah.
my NES collection, and this is my elliptical
Oh,
to
well,
work out.
you can't have enough elliptical time.
No, yeah, that's my NES collection. I have every NES game except for Stadium Events, and about 95% are boxed or complete in box. And I have like 35, 40 PAL exclusives, a handful of Famicom games, and I have a handful of Sharp Famicom Station games.
So
And that's
yeah, I know you don't have everything with you, but we were talking about some of the rarest things you have in the
Yep.
room. So let's see what you got, man.
so something that's oddball that I really like that I've never seen before, and I don't know if anyone else has one. Is this? It's a
Power
promotional button
Fest.
for the Power Fest for 1990 that they had in Macy's from New York. So that's kind of cool. That just walked into the store one day. Guys, like, is this worth anything? And I was like, I have no idea. I tried to research it. I couldn't find anything about it online at the time. And I've seen a couple of people that have pictures of them, but not any sold listings. So he's like, give me $10. I said, okay.
It's coming, the Nintendo Power Fest 1990.
It's the best thing we've ever done.
Get secret tips on how to be a better game player.
I learned a lot of new power tips.
Or take the challenge and compete for fun and prizes.
It was fun to compete, and it was easy, too.
Play the hot games of the future on hundreds of game stations.
I'll
play games I'll never play before.
The Nintendo Power Fest 1990. Be there.
So I got that for $10 like 8-9 years ago. So that was
That's
kind of
pretty cool. Yeah.
But the rarest thing I have, it seems insane to anybody who doesn't know, but it's Turtles 2 for the NES. But the thing is that it's a 5-screw Turtles 2. And you see there's no sticker on the back there. And the interesting thing about it is there's only ever been one sale on eBay. And if I recall, it sold in about 5 minutes for $1,200 US. Because they aren't supposed to really exist. I have one. There's a couple pictures from the old Nintendo Age forums where 2 other people have listed it, and one guy on Imager said, "Hey, I've got a 5-screw," but that's it. So it seems to be rarer than TMNT. Rarer than Mega Man, and some other ones. The only one that I know that is definitely rarer than this is Tiny Toons.
Tiny
Toons,
super random.
Tiny...
Well, what's funny
yeah,
is before we started, I was gonna say before we started, you telling me about this 5-screw thing, and I was like, okay, let's see what I got. Rolled on back there, and like I do have 5-screw games, but I guess only certain of them are rare.
No one knows the exact source of these because these shouldn't exist. Because NES 5-screw games were the original Black Label ones, right? And so you have Zelda. There's Zelda Gold ones that are 5-screw, which are pretty rare. There's Mega Man 1, which is people are like, that's kind of weird how that one even exists because it's not a Nintendo thing. But you have these ones here, which came out years and years afterwards. And they actually, on the inside, the boards are different than the other ones as well. They have an earlier chip production date on them. I forget all the specific details. I had a big discussion with a gentleman about this one time, and he showed me all the links to all the other ones that were these oddball 5-screws. And yeah, it's super rare. I'm not sure exactly what it's worth. It's definitely worth at least $1,200 US because it's sold in 1 second that way. But to my knowledge, there's less than about probably 10 of these that are known to exist or floating around or whatever it is. Probably closer to 5. I'm sure people have them in their collections or in their, stuff from their childhood, or their dad got it at a garage sale in 1992 or something. So there's probably more kicking around. So when everyone says, it's the rarest thing, it's not. There's never really a one of something unless you made it yourself, So because always things pop out of the woodwork. So when people were talking about the US 64DD never existing, and then all of a sudden a guy in Washington went to a garage sale and found 2 of them, and then another guy's like, "Oh yeah, my grandma has one," and then they started popping up. Or the Nintendo PlayStation, there was only one of those, and then another one popped up. So it's just there's always stuff kicking around, as rare as anyone says that it is.
So okay, step 1, be a hoarder. So you have the inventory.
Pretty much.
But how did you?
One of my stories.
What was your? Yeah. What was your secret to building that collection to start with, for one? And for two, once you had a store, did they just walked in? You didn't have to go hunt for stuff, or?
Well, I did my best not to poach from the store when things came in, unless it was something like super difficult for me to find. So, like my box gun knack behind me that I got, that walked into the store. But I've been looking for a clean copy of gun knack for like 5 years at that point, and I couldn't find one.
Well, I'm talking about how do you keep your store stocked? Sorry, not stuff that you're going to steal. But like, that's what I was saying. Do you actually go out and try to find garage sales, or do you just wait for people to walk in? What's the secret?
Well, originally with my collection, and then it was just people coming in the door. Thrift stores are not worth it anymore. If you want to go, it's so rare to find a deal at a thrift store now for anything, let alone a video game. So you're wasting your time even trying to go 90% of the time, unless everyone at the thrift store just doesn't care and they price everything cheap. But I'd say right now at thrift stores, 75 to 80% of all gaming related stuff is priced higher than what I sell it for in my store. So I stopped in about 2 days ago, just on a whim. I was driving by, like, I'll pop in there and see what it was. And every game was above my retail price. And so I don't understand why they think this, but when you have know-it-alls working in a business, that's just how it works. But yeah, garage sales, once again, not worth my time in my area. There's so many collectors in my area. Actually, for a couple weekends, I paid employees to leave at like 6:30 in the morning to hit up every garage sale they could until 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then come back with their finds. And I paid them for it, and I gave them $500 bankroll. If you need anything else, I'll transfer you the money. And I think the best thing they found was maybe like one copy of Mario Galaxy for the Wii. The rest of the stuff, they're like, "Yo, do you want like High School Musical for the Wii?" I'm like, "No." Do you want so?
But it's
Sure,
still
there's
pretty
deals.
cool, though. I mean, like, as an employee, like, if I worked at a small game store, I think that would be pretty fun to get paid to go hunt. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.
Except that you got to turn it in at the end of the day instead of keep it. But it's still
Yeah,
fun.
there's just too much competition.
Yeah.
Grandmas, I see grandmas now out there, at swap meets with hordes of games they've bought at garage sales or whatever it is. So it's not about, for a lot of people now, it's not about the collecting aspect of it and the community aspect of it. It's how much money I can make off of it. That kind of ruins it for a lot of people, even for me as a guy who does this for a living. This is it's kind of crazy because I always made sure that people had fun and everybody was happy and everybody was having a good time while in my store. And if you look at the reviews online and on Facebook and Google and whatever it is, I got really good reviews, and I do that because I price things fairly. But I when PlayStation 4 came out, people got so mad at me because they're like, "I'll come in and buy them all. I'll buy every PlayStation 4 that you got." And I'm like, "No, you can buy one PlayStation 4, and if your girlfriend comes in with you, she can't buy one because you already bought one." Because I want to make sure that the kid down the road that's been trying to find one for the last 2 weeks, he can come in and get one. And people got so mad at me because they're like, "Oh, I can sell it online for $900." That's not what this is about. So, anyways, it's just
I've met both types of store owners. So we have some of those here in the DFW area, but I feel like there's actually more game stores, which is great. But man, their pricing, like, you can tell the fair pricing stores versus the ones that they have great selection, but man, you can't afford it. It's like twice as much. I'm like, why would I buy this here? I'll just buy it online.
Well,
So,
that's the thing.
yeah.
We actually, all of our game stores, including my own, with the exception of one, closed down during COVID. Like I lost my physical store and I'm online right now. And the reason why I lost my store is because I was in a mall and they locked everything down for, I forget how long it was, like 4 months or 5 months, that you just couldn't have any retail non-essential open. And then after that, they made curbside pickup, which was allowed. So people couldn't come into the store, they could come to the curb and you could meet up with them and whatever. I was in a mall. There's no curbs in the mall. And if anyone who's ever had a store in a mall before knows, the cost for rent in a mall is so astronomical. You wouldn't believe it. Like the big mall around where I live, a kiosk during Christmas is like $4,500 a week for a kiosk in the center of the mall. So you can imagine 9 months of making no money and having $10,000 plus a month in costs and making no money. So I had to close the store. I couldn't afford it. So, and then I had to pay like the fine or the whatever it was when I broke my lease and everything else. And it was just horrible. So I had to move everything all online, relearn how to build websites again and, do graphic design again, buy photography equipment again, edit photos, do all this stuff, build a customer base, advertise. And it's really difficult because now I'm not competing against the guy down the road. I'm competing against everyone in the world. So...
Well, I appreciate your store being open. I mean, you hooked me up a year or so ago with a Metroid. So yep. I don't know what happened, but my boxed copy of Super Metroid had disappeared. I was pretty distraught. I was like, Mike, what do you got for me? So he sent me this fancy plastic wrapped, Super Metroid in the box. So I appreciate you still having a store. It just sucks that COVID shut you down.
Well, yeah, it wasn't just COVID. It was a lot of other stuff too. The cost for everything was skyrocketed. Rent in my area is absolutely astronomical. I've been looking pretty much constantly since closing the physical store down for another area to open up. And there's places that I remember were empty in 2017 when I moved my store to its second location that are still empty now, and the price of rent has just gone up. And no one's rented it at the cheap price, and they now want twice the amount. Now, and still nobody's renting it. So well, man, I just find that
just offer them what you can afford and see what happens. So that's actually what I did for our second location. We went to there, we scouted it, we talked to them, we're like, the rent's too high. This is what we can afford. 6 months later, hey, we want you back. I'm like, now it's this price, and they took it. So we got it for even lower than what our budget was. So offer them what you can afford, and then eventually they're going to say, you know what? We need somebody here, we'll take it. So just random side business note. I've actually pulled that off.
So everyone thinks, oh, it's so cool, you get to own a game store, you get to play video games all day. I don't ever get to play video games. I get to sit there and I get to sticker old GameStop stickers off of stuff, and John, Smith's permanent marker off the back of something. I get to clean things with Q-tips and sanitize and test, and then do the exact same thing and take apart consoles and clean all gold gum. I opened up a Saturn once and I found a full Dorito inside of a Saturn. Like, there's not even a port to put it in big enough to put. We took it out and tried to stick it in to figure out how it got in there.
So they took it apart and put a Dorito in there and just resold.
That's all we could think of. Is someone put a Dorito inside of a thing.
Did it run with the Dorito in it?
Sorry?
Was it running?
Oh yeah, it worked fine. Yeah, it was just really dusty.
Okay.
So I took it apart just to blow out all the dust and give it a good cleaning, like we do with pretty much every console we get. But it's not just super fun all the time. Like, it's great. Yeah, you get to deal with games, and games are fun, and talk about games because you like games and it's something you're interested in. But it's not what everyone thinks, where it's like, yo man, I get to work at a game store and whatever it is. You got so many things that you do that is not gaming related, and especially when you're the owner, because you do everything from paying the electrical bill to cleaning the toilet. You do everything in between, and that. It's just that's just how it is as a business owner. At
Whatever
your
needs to be
restaurant.
done.
Yeah, some people, don't go to you like, oh man, I bet you get to eat food all day and it's just great. And people bring you food all the time and that's all you do. No, you don't. You're constantly working. And actually, in the pictures I sent you of our first location, you can see a leather couch in there. I bought that couch because my house was 45 minutes away from the store. So it was easier for me to work a 16, 17, 18-hour day at the store, sleep on the couch, and then just wake up, go to the bathroom, unlock the store, and open it for the day, than it was for me to drive 45 minutes home and then drive 45 minutes back, especially in the winter when it's really bad out. So you work a lot. And when I say a lot, 7 days a week, 100+ hours a week for years. And people don't understand that it's not a walk in the park. And, the market's constantly changing. Prices are going up and down. Things are hot. Things are not. Like, for example, recently I found out Transformers War for Cybertron for 360, which is forever was like a $10 game that nobody wanted.
I have it on the PS2.
It's PS3. If you have either one of those, it was I think the most we sold it for in store was $14.99, and that's Canadian dollars. Now it's about $80 Canadian because they brought the servers back online.
That's super random.
So if you don't know that, people are going to come and buy up all your copies for cheap. And then, Cubic Ninja, same thing. When they were using that to jailbreak the 3DSs. That game was like a $2 game. No one gave a crap about it. Overnight, $300 game. And I had 6 copies of it, and they were all sold by 10 a.m. the next day when it was leaked. So you always got to be on top of everything and pay attention to market trends and read articles and listen to what your customers are saying and what people are always calling about, and you have to hoard consoles for the holiday season, and there's so many things that people don't think about when you run a game store, what you actually have to do.
Very cool. So you don't have a physical store, so where do you store all of your stuff, and how do you get stuff now?
I have a storage unit.
Okay, so you have a storage unit, but you said people would walk into the store to give you your inventory. So where are you getting your inventory?
So lots of different places.
Okay.
I have a whole, over the years, I have a whole bunch of stuff. Like right now, I can't turn the thing right now, but to the right of me, I have a 40-liter bin solid of PS2 games. So it's just stuff that I had too much of, couldn't fit on the shelf, I put it in the bag. And then something gets put on top of that. And then somebody closes the bin up and moves it somewhere else. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of items just to go through. And not just video games. I got toys and accessories and Pokemon plushies and cards and stickers and boomboxes and just so much stuff from the 80s and 90s just to process and go through right now that I'm set for years. But people still message me all the time. Do you have, do you buy stuff? Can I trade in whatever? And yeah, it works out good. Like right now, I've got a guy in Japan who's there right now, and he's got a bunch of stuff that he's going to trade for a bunch of stuff that we have in stock right now. And I'm going to ship a package to Japan, and he's going to ship me a bunch of stuff from Japan, and we're going to have some, because we haven't had an update for Japanese Famicom, Super Famicom, or N64 stuff recently. So I need that. So I messaged him, and he's like, oh yeah, we'll do a big trade. And so it works that way. It's not as easy, But the good thing is when I have days where, I have a slow month, like let's say January, and everyone also is selling in January because they got the new console or something else at Christmas time.
Right.
I don't have a really low bank account because I've got all this stuff in. So that's nice too, that I'm not just, investing in stuff I don't know how it's going to perform sometimes. So yeah, I bet not really thrift stores or garage sales, but yeah, people contact me and I meet up with them. We do trades. I buy things from them or, give them in-store credit and they can use it whenever they want. My website's pretty good like that, so I can do lots of different variations for people.
Did you find my keychain yet for my Pokemon N64?
No, I've never seen it.
All
I've
right.
never seen it. I was going through storage and I found a Poke Walker, a brand new one for like the Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and for half a second I thought it was that keychain, and I was like, oh no.
Well, if anybody has that, let me know because it would complete my Pokemon in 64 box. Anyway, well, Mike, I appreciate you talking to us. It's always fun to see crazy stuff. Hey, if you guys are looking for any games, go to Mike's shop online.
It's shopRetroReplay.com.
He's pretty honest about his stuff, and if you're looking for something like minty, like he was talking about with my Super Metroid, he'll let you know.
Well, anything that's boxed, we take pictures of so you can see the quality of it. If it's just like a loose cartridge or whatever it is, we just use the stock photos for it. Because if I take pictures of 10,000 items, all I do is photo and edit and upload all day long. So, but yeah, if there's any flaws or anything wrong with it, we note it, and that's pretty much it. So it's like if it doesn't have a manual, right? No manual. It's all in there. We clean, sanitize everything. We de-sticker everything. We make sure it's all ready to go. We ship to every country in the world except for like 8. So sorry, North Koreans and Eritreans, we don't ship to you right now. And there's like a couple other countries. I don't think we ship to Iran.
I'm assuming they're not allowed to play games in North Korea, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm off.
Actually, if you look at the Steam map, there's always one dot in Pyongyang, North Korea, where someone is on Steam like 24 hours a day. I don't know who it is. I think I got an idea. But yeah, someone's playing Steam in Pyongyang, North Korea. Having a great time.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Mike. Again,
no problem.
Stop at his store, and then we'll talk to you soon.
ShopRetroReplay.com. Check it out, guys.